Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland Reviewer, and welcome to my first episode of Welcome to the Wasteland, featuring Matthew Williams, and we're going to try to do this little show as often as we can, hopefully at least once a month, and this week we're going to be talking about a couple different things, and mostly focusing on films of 2019. I'm going to talk a little bit about some films that I felt like were under the radar in 2019 that I would definitely want to recommend. Matt's going to talk about a couple different kinds of categories. So we're going to get started. So I have no particular number of films that I put on here, but there's 7 of them. And one of them that I definitely wanted to put on this list was Monos. And this was something that I started to see a bunch of people posting reviews on Instagram, and I'm like, what is this movie? And I was able to watch it on AMC Theaters on Demand. And it's a combination of this militant Lord of the Flies, where it's not like a bunch of schoolboys get dropped in the jungle on a deserted island. It's a bunch of young people being trained to be killers out in the middle of the jungle. And it's so tense. It's beautiful and striking visually, and it's something that takes you on for a ride. And I was on the edge of my seat the whole entire film, and these characters and the performances were really impressive as these young people in this very harsh war zone have this American woman captured, and this takes place in Central America kind of place, and it's a really powerful film. I would definitely recommend it. It's something that I heard about through word of mouth on social media, which I'm glad I did because I got to check it out and really enjoyed it.
Have you ever seen... So I haven't seen this movie. I'm probably sure I will eventually. It's like a very long list of movies that I don't know. I need to make more time. But have you ever heard of a movie called Beast of No Nation that was on Netflix?
I did watch that.
Okay, so the way that you describe this movie kind of reminds me of that movie, where it's kind of like a child soldier thing, but it's kind of like there's a lot of children in a cast that have to do really, really uncomfortable, awful things, or at least put in uncomfortable, awful settings, for the sake of war going on. I don't know, and I really like that movie, so maybe I'll give this one a try.
One of the original of Netflix. It was that first big, I'm like, oh my god, this is a Netflix original that's actually legit. And the interesting thing is this film doesn't have an Idris Elba in it. It doesn't have that strong actor that's an adult actor there to anchor the film. This is all on the shoulders of these young actors in Monos, and they do a fantastic job.
Do you wish that it got a best foreign language kind of shout outs and love?
I wish it got some attention for it, because the tricky thing is there's so many foreign films out there, and they always seem to do a terrible job of picking the 5 of them. That and documentaries. How do they screw up on those so much? And it's just there's certain films, it's I have one other, I guess 2 other foreign language films on this list, which segue into I Lost My Body, which is that animated Netflix film.
Oh, yeah.
That is a weird and engaging and emotional and gripping film. And I'm this is next level animation, and I'm so glad that actually got attention at the Oscars. It got nominated for Best Animated Feature because it's mature, and it deals with these 2 concurrent stories of this hand walking around trying to find its body, and it's weird, and it's gripping. Horrible pun. Really bad one. But it's so violent and graphic, and then this really impressive human story that goes along with it leading up to how this all took place. It was really interesting. It was very different. It's on Netflix, and you could just go stream it. It's pretty easy.
I like the romance part of it. I also liked the fact that, because I didn't know what to think of this movie. I was okay, let's just hit play, and it was really hard in parts. There's I'm thinking of a flashback scene in particular, when he's a child, And it's like, whoa,
Yeah.
okay. So there's like a lot of. I'm trying to think of like who would I recommend this to. I don't know. I think so as long as you can, if you're somebody that likes animation, definitely watch it. If you're someone that likes movies that probably like no one has ever heard of,
I feel like
definitely also recommend it.
this might be for people that aren't usually naturally into animated films.
A good example of when you like got to make an argument of like animation isn't just for kids.
Yes, this is perfect example of that because this is not for kids. Don't let your kids stream this.
Yeah.
Not a good idea. Now, the next one I have on here is from Jennifer Kent, the creator of The Babadook.
My favorite.
The Nightingale. And I was blown away by this. And I feel like I watched this on Hulu, I think. And this is a powerful thriller about a woman who is a prisoner on, I think it took place in Tasmania. And her husband gets murdered. Her baby gets murdered. And this soldier, played by Sam Claflin, who's so despicable. This is one of my favorite performances of him. This might be his best performance. And he's going to get promoted. So she hires an Aboriginal who leads her through the woods to try to find this man and try to seek revenge. And how I compared this, how this story progresses of how Gangs in New York should have progressed. Because my biggest issue with that film is all of a sudden the rug's pulled out from under you and your revenge story means nothing anymore. It's just like, there's bigger fish to fry, like the Civil War and racism. And I'm just like, but I spent over 2.5 hours engaged in this revenge thriller. I want a satisfying conclusion, which I don't feel like you get in Gangs in New York. This film, it's a slow burn as this film's scope keeps opening and opening and opening to the point where this isn't just about this particular woman's revenge, but a greater scheme of racial tensions and stuff like that. And it was very poignant when you get that satisfaction at the end. I'm like, holy crap.
Just with that, I was like, how was the ending?
I was extremely satisfied and it was shocking. And it was violent, it was brutal. I'm like, damn, got me. And I would highly recommend The Nightingale. And I'm really interested to see what else Jennifer Kent does because she's obviously a very talented filmmaker. Now, another one is The Mustang. And this is, I saw this pretty early on last year, honestly, and it's about Matthias Schoenaerts, I think's his name.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Who plays a man who's in prison and becomes part of this program where they break wild horses. And it's visually striking. It's really well made from a filmmaking perspective. Matthias Schoenaerts gives such a powerful performance. It's like, it's not often that you see an actor being able to really capture rage in a real and natural way, but you just see the white knuckling in his body language, everything. And like a fun performance from Bruce Dern is always good too. And I feel like it has such interesting parallels between this man and the horses that he's working with. It's a really meaningful and powerful film, and I was really impressed by it. And I was really impressed by Schoenaerts' performance. And in a perfect world where you get a lot of attention to all the best performances, like he would have been in that best actor conversation, but like this film was never going to pick up that kind of attention for that.
I think about this movie because it's set inside of a prison, and then like he has to interact sometimes with prisoners or staff, and then also there's I think 1 or 2 scenes where he interacts with a family member, isn't his daughter?
His pregnant daughter.
Yeah.
And those scenes are really hard to watch.
Yeah, it's like really like very very sad. There's like beautiful, nice, and like light moments, but then it can flicker back to like really like hard. Oh, okay, I forgot. Like this movie is about someone that's in crappy situation.
Yeah.
And also life is happening on the outside, and also like bad stuff is happening on the inside too. I'm thinking of one scene I won't spoil, but yeah. Thumbs up. Thumbs up
Thumbs
movie.
up.
Thumbs up movie.
Now, time to gush for a minute, because low-key one of my favorite directors is slowly becoming Craig S. Zahler, who started off, like, his first bigger film was Bone Tomahawk.
Mm.
Which, oh my god, taking a genre and turning it on its head and making a horror western in the most graphically disturbing kind of way. Guy literally gets bisected by cannibals.
Okay.
It's one of the hardest scenes I've ever seen to watch in a movie.
You own that, right?
I do. And then, how do you follow that up? With such a exploitation style crime drama that is such a slow burn, 2 hours and 20 minutes, but somehow is so slow burning and yet a perfect pace that you're just like, it's been 2 hours and 20 minutes watching Vince Vaughn, of all people. One of the first things you see him do is dismantle a metal muscle car with his bare hands. And you're like, shit, I'm afraid of Vince Vaughn. Because he is a physically intimidating dude. Like, usually you see him as, like, a goofball, but, like, he's a big dude, and he's able to show this aggression and power in this. And, like, strange supporting performances. Like, Don Johnson's in this.
No problem.
And he's this despicable warden of... What happens is, Vince Vaughn gets pulled back in to a life of crime that he put behind him to be with his wife. She's pregnant. He gets thrown back in jail, and they're threatening the life of his unborn child. So he has to keep spiraling deeper into the prison system, so he shows up on Cell Block 99, this ultra secure, like, devil's butthole of a prison, where the warden's Don Johnson, and the prosthetic work in these movies is so graphic. Like, there's always something in this movie, Zahler's movies, that are just gross beyond belief. And watching Vince Vaughn straight curb stomp somebody and drag their face against concrete and seeing their face rip off, I'm just like, okay. And now getting to the actual film of 2019, Dragged Across Concrete. And it's about dirty cops and gangs and racism and classism. And I'm like, this is a lot smarter than this movie I would have expected it to be. And the thing that I appreciate about Zahler is, just going to be a little controversial, but not really caring about probably the perception of the actors in his movies and just going with who he thought would be great. Because like the two leads in this are Vince Vaughn and Mel Gibson as dirty cops, and they're impeccable in this movie. They're really impressive, and Mel Gibson's a fantastic actor. He has ridiculous screen presence, and like Don Johnson's in this, and you get these weird small like Don Johnson's having a new career, and like he just popped up in Knives Out. But this movie is shocking, it's brutal, and there's one particular story thread that's interesting that I'm not quite sure why it's there, if it really fits, but like it's a really powerful and interesting crime drama that has a lot to say. And I highly recommend Zahler's work because he is like, I would call him, like if I had to pick anybody who's like could be the next John Carpenter, it's him. Except his movies aren't like an hour and 30 minutes like John Carpenter movies. His movies are like 2+ hours. I promise I'm getting there. There's 2 more. So, one movie that stole my heart, and I absolutely loved this movie, was Wild Rose. I'm now, like, huge fan of Jessie Buckley. She's a fantastic actress. She has a beautiful voice. And what the actual holy hell is wrong with the Academy of Film Arts and Sciences that they did not nominate Glasgow as Best Original Song. With some of the garbage that they nominated. And that song's amazing, and I listen to it on a regular basis. But, like, Jessie Buckley gives such a fantastic performance as this young woman, and, like, she's this young Scottish woman who wants to be a country star, but she has kids, and she has responsibilities, and her trying to balance that with her own attempts at fame and everything, and it's a really poignant thing where it's like, and I'm not going to take credit for this comment because I heard this in a video of talking about how, like, usually when you have something like this, the person that's trying to reach for their dreams are this great person, and they have everything just thrown in their face despite the fact that they're such a great person. Jessie Buckley's character in Wild Rose, she's a hot mess. And it's so interesting seeing her try to strive for her dreams, and you, as an audience, struggling with, like, should I want her to do this? She needs to do what she needs to do as a mother. And it's hard, but, like, you care about her. I really like that movie a lot.
I recommend Coal Miner's Daughter.
I have Coal Miner's Daughter.
You have that?
Yeah.
What do you not have in there? Yeah, the Sissy Spacek
Go
and Tommy Lee Jones. Yeah.
Tommy Lee Jones was so scummy in that as her husband. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sissy Spacek was great.
I think she got nominated for like Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, something like that. Yeah. Thumbs up.
Now the last film I'm going to talk about is Birds of Passage, which is a Spanish language film about the Colombian drug cartels and like how they started. And
so like a rip-roaring romp.
Yes,
like very funny.
100%. I laughed at every turn, at all the carnage and the horrible things, and the decomposing families over the drug trade, and yeah.
Feel good movie of the year.
Feel good movie of the year.
What's it about?
I'm really impressed by how well you get sucked into this culture, and that's something I love about film being lost into somebody else's world, whether it's a fantasy world or a culture I don't really understand very well. And you're really engrossed in this. And along with that, being really attached to this really powerful and tense build of these terrible war crimes between like these cartels and stuff like that, and these families, and seeing what it really does to people. And I highly recommend Birds of Passage.
Is it like so I haven't even heard this movie. Is it a narrative or documentary?
Oh, it's a narrative.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Compare it to something like I don't know, what is that Benicio del Toro movie?
Oh, Sicario?
Yeah.
This isn't about trying to take down the cartels. It's about the families that built into the cartels.
Oh, okay.
So there's a lot of human family drama.
Okay.
And revenge and stuff like that. Okay. It's less about like, we need to take down the drug cartels. No, this is the inception of the drug cartels. And seeing that, it's like, this might be a weird comparison, but like Fistful of Dollars.
Okay.
Or like Yojimbo, where it's like these two warring families and stuff like that. That's what it feels more like. Like there's no like Clint Eastwood character in this, or like Ronin in this, to like get between these two families. It's really about like the two warring families and like these tribes developing into these cartels and what their actions cost their family.
Okay. Alright, so that sounds like the best idea for a date night I've ever heard.
No, even better, Nightingale. You get to watch, because like, I'm going to warn you, like, just real quick about that, because like, some of the movies I talked about have some really hard scenes to watch. That movie shows her husband and baby getting murdered and her getting raped. So, yeah. Perfect date night movie.
Proceed with caution.
Proceed with caution.
Alright, let me see. So I'm going to go off with 3 different categories. The first one is going to be the I love parts of you movies. Number 1 is Godzilla. King of Monsters.
King of Monsters.
So I've been a Godzilla fan ever since I was a little boy. I'm talking like the stuff from like, the '60s and then like, everything. I really like the fact that this movie gave us more Godzilla, gave us more monster action. Still not enough. We didn't have any Cranston stuff though, so like there wasn't. I don't know. I part of me doesn't want to rip it. Part of me just wants to talk about like the stuff. The reason why I love this movie. That was an awesome fight. That ending fight when he kind of like becomes irradiated, which has been done in other Godzilla movies, but like
it just what disappoints me though is like how awesome all of that is, and why I wanted more of it and less of the poorly developed human character.
Yeah, or at least give me like somebody extremely charismatic.
Well, no, that's the thing, because I feel like, and before anybody, like, if anybody leaves any comments about like the idea of like the original Godzilla was a human drama and stuff, like, yeah, and it was well written. It wasn't a bunch of nonsense.
Yeah. Also, this movie's not about anything.
Flat character. Yeah, it's
that movie was about something.
If they had like more Bryan Cranston type characters in this, because like my biggest issue with the first one was like I was in it that first act, I was hooked, and then when you leave me with Aaron Taylor Johnson and very very little Godzilla, when this movie happens and they like when you like multiply the amount of monster action you have in a movie by 6 times the last one, and yet it's still not enough monster action, just says exactly what this movie has going for it. Because yes, these effects and those monster fights, the music, I wasn't even trying to mimic anything from the movie, but yeah, that kind of just sounded like it, didn't it?
I mean, I guess at least it's like not like the ratio of what is it? Like Phantom Menace. The Phantom Menace is like the political scenes kind of like overpopulating everything versus kind of like all like the action stuff.
Yeah,
you know
and
what I mean?
honestly, I didn't feel like there was any terrible racial stereotypes in this, like the Phantom Menace either.
Double yikes.
Because like from a human character perspective in this, and they wasted a lot of very talented actors in King of Monsters. Because like Vera Farmiga was in this, and Kyle Chandler, and Charles Dance, like Tywin Lannister was in this, but like Ken Watanabe, that was the closest I ever felt something. Like he has one particular scene with Godzilla, and I'm like, yep, that's about the amount of feels I'm gonna feel during this, except for like, yeah, monsters.
And that was a fantastic, like, that was really, really awesome. Like, yeah, it was emotional, but also, it was really, really cool. And also, and then when it pays off, and then, like, Godzilla, something happens in the movie where he has to do something, Watanabe's character, and then Godzilla, because if you've ever seen a Godzilla movie, you know, he loves to, like, make an entrance out of the water, he races it out of the water, and then he, like, does, like, that thing in the trailer where he, like, shoots a sky beam.
Sky beams.
Like, fantastic.
Had to have a sky beam.
I mean, it wouldn't be a movie without it.
Wouldn't be a blockbuster without a sky beam. What's next?
Let's see. So my next one is Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Okay. All right. So hopefully people don't get really mad on your channel.
Well, to be perfectly honest, like I probably like this a lot more than you do. I guess then if this is where this movie wound up on what category, go ahead, Matt.
Okay. So, okay. I've loved Quentin Tarantino since I was in high school. I remember when I first heard of Kill Bill, I was like, okay, I watched that. That was awesome. Let's watch the second one. That's awesome. And then I saw like the last 30. No. I saw like my last 30 minutes of Pulp Fiction, and I was like, well, I have to watch that too. And then I ended up having to wait a bit to find a DVD. I was like, this Tarantino guy is awesome. So the thing about this movie, the reason why I say I love parts of it, and these are like giant chunks. I want to say maybe like 70-80% of this movie, but there are certain random things that I just don't like. And I know the argument that the internet makes is like, the Sharon Tate stuff, there needs to be more, she needs to have done something. I personally would have wanted her to do some kind of kung fu stuff towards the end. I don't want to spoil anything, but I think what this movie did is that it had really awesome moments where kind of like when Brad Pitt goes to a particular place and it's almost kind of like it takes this movie that is one thing and it's almost kind of like for the next 15, 20 minutes it's like, wait, am I in a zombie film?
I felt like it was a next, like that scene I think you're talking about was like next level. I'm like
tense and scary.
Because like most of this film is cool. And you're along for the ride. And like that scene happened, I'm like, when did I get into a thriller? When did this turn into a thriller? Because like, yeah, that scene's really, really impressive. And I felt on the edge of my seat. I'm like, holy crap. And then you don't really feel that again until the end.
Yeah. And that particular scene is kind of like towards the middle.
Yes.
Yeah, so I mean, there's like there's like a lot of good moments. There's the Bruce Lee moment, like that scene, which was not only really awesome, like choreographed because it's a lot longer than the trailer suggests, but it's also very funny too. Like I laughed really hard.
Brad Pitt on his like trail of winning all these awards for best supporting actor, he earned it. Like Brad Pitt as Cliff Booth steals this movie, and like Leo does a really good job. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I was a little surprised how much attention he's getting for best actor for this movie because like I didn't expect that kind of attention to fall on that role. But, like, he does a really good job, and he plays Insecure really well. Like, some of my, like, there's just certain things that happen peppered throughout that I'm just like, what? Like, I think the worst one was the whole Steve McQueen thing.
Okay.
That felt so weird. I'm like, why was Steve McQueen in this? Like, I know in real life he was, like, really close friends with Sharon Tate, but, like, Damian Lewis as Steve McQueen felt so weird. His accent was weird. He looked off and had some horrible dialogue. And like the minute that he was on screen, I'm like, that just completely took me out of the movie. And feet.
Lots of feet.
The music though, I want this album on vinyl.
Yeah.
100%. I listen to Good Thing a lot. And Brother Love's Salvation. The Neil Diamond song. What
scene was that played?
Well, it was in the trailer too.
I can't remember. Yeah, but
like this definitely wasn't my favorite Tarantino movie, and I felt on some level it felt like his most mature one because up until the very end, it didn't really feel like it had that crazy Tarantino angst to it. And then that just like, bam, at the end of it.
The ending, not only was it very violent and it was like, it kind of went on and it was very unflinching. Like Tarantino's not the kind of filmmaker where it's kind of like something crazy's happening over here, but the camera kind of like moves to a different spot and you only see is like by the shadows. Like you see it. Yeah, and Flamethrower. Whoa, didn't see that. Like, so there's a lot of stuff that's happening. Oh, hello. There's like so much stuff that's happening aside of the ending of that movie where it's like, I really wish the whole film had me as engaged as not only the ending, but it's kind of like the other ideas and random moments in the movie. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I just wish there was random things that I got.
So here's a question: are you
like Al Pacino could have been? I wish he had like moments that weren't just kind of like
Al Pacinoing.
Yeah, it was like there. It was like
I love your pictures.
Yeah, like I don't know.
Being Al Pacino.
Yeah.
2 questions. 1, are you down for the 4-hour version that's totally going to get put onto Netflix?
Yeah, I mean, why not? I saw Irishman in theaters. I mean, if I could do that. I mean, we were raised on what was it? Harry Potter movies, and like,
I was raised on Judah Ben-Hur.
How long is that? Like 4.5? Like how long is that?
I think without the credits, it's like 3 hours and 45 minutes. So it's a long ass movie.
Yeah.
But another question. Do you think this is going to be one of those Tarantino movies that grows on you over time?
That's an interesting question. Like, I don't know if I would rewatch. Like, I could see myself rewatching Django. I could see myself rewatching Inglourious Bastards. Like, this is the kind of Tarantino movie where it's kind of like yeah, like it happened. Like that was cool. Like Jackie Brown. Like yeah, that was cool. But I don't know if I would watch this over again. Like just for me personally, I don't know if I would
Jackie
watch
Brown's the one for me that the more I watch it, I'm like, that's like
it.
it's like yeah, except for Robert De Niro and Bridget Fonda. Robert De Niro just seems like he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah.
And like I don't want to watch them having sex. Sorry.
Or the feet. Her feet. LOL.
But like Pam Grier, Robert Forster, Samuel Jackson brings it.
And Chris Tucker.
Chris Tucker was in that too.
I'm not getting in that truck. Yeah. Please find the clip. Actually, no. Buy the movie. But yeah, so those are my two for that particular category. Wasted Potential.
This is gonna be fun.
Let's start off with It Chapter 2.
My God, just cut out all the scenes of them as kids.
Okay, so the middle. You know what's funny? Because like the middle, the reason why it doesn't work for me is because like I didn't. For me, and I only saw this movie once, and I didn't want to watch it again, but I didn't understand sometimes what was a hallucination or what was a memory. And then it seemed like it was kind of, and then also I didn't know, like, or if it was not so much like a hallucination, but like an illusion by Pennywise. So then like I didn't know if it was, should I be scared because the danger is real, or is it not real because it happened in the past? So I don't know. So the kid scene, that's one thing. Second thing, I didn't like the fact that because this middle scene that I'm talking about, if you haven't seen it, like it takes up a large portion of the movie, maybe like 40 minutes probably. Like it takes like a lot of like just finding random, like finding those totems or whatever, those symbols. That
it gets really repetitive.
Yeah.
Like it's lazy screenwriting where it's just like, MacGuffins for all of you. You go off on your own and you go find your MacGuffin.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it felt like. I think it was more than 45 minutes, honestly.
Yeah.
It was like a good third of this movie.
And also, aliens. I don't want to say too many spoilery things. Yeah, I don't want to say too many spoilery things, but yeah. So, aliens. I don't know.
For this movie. My God, the fake voices, the CGI'd younger faces of those kids. I didn't realize they had to do that going into this movie. And I felt disturbed watching some of those scenes and being like... And like, I'm sitting there in the theater, I'm like, that's not his voice. What the hell's going on? It doesn't even sound like his voice. And then going back later and realizing they had to do all that stuff because they all grew up and hit puberty... I'm just like, ugh. But, like, what really stood out to me for this film was Bill Hader feels like he's on a whole other level.
Compared to anybody
than
else.
Anybody else in this movie.
And this movie has James McAvoy, who is a fantastic...
And Jessica Chastain.
Yeah.
Who felt wasted as hell as Beverly. And, like, I feel like most of them don't really get meat to really latch on to. Basically, Bill Hader. That's basically it. And he goes with it, and I loved him in this.
And I don't know if that's like an issue with the writing, like not giving them more interesting things to say and do. Or I don't know if it's more of like an acting thing.
Oh, I really don't think they had anything for Beverly to do. Besides kind of just feel like a damsel in distress. And that was a shame.
From beginning to end.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the hype... When I saw the trailer for this movie, I think everybody did, because I remember it was trending on YouTube for a while. Yeah, like...
That scene, though...
In the trailer? And in the movie?
In the movie. Like, there's certain scenes in this that are, like, next level and really work, but, like, it's not the sum of the parts. It doesn't wind up working that way. And I feel like this should have been the Stephen King adaptation of the year. But that went to Dr. Sleep.
Fantastic, fantastic movie. Why did I put that on my list? I'm mad at myself now. Too late.
Go see it. You could watch the 3-hour director's cut on AMC.
Really?
Theaters on demand right now.
We're watching that after we hit and stop on this.
Yeah.
Let me see.
No. It's late.
Let me see. Glass. So I saw this with Shane, and I remember, like, one thing that Shane and I said was, so what happened? Because, what? So I was extremely excited at the end of Split. Everybody was. Because the idea...
Oh,
like,
Matt.
Potential.
Matt.
Because no one knew that was coming.
When the Unbreakable music started playing and they cut to that diner and Bruce Willis is in the diner counter, I'm like, oh
Yes.
And then we get this movie.
And the movie was, I don't know if it was trying to do too many things. I don't know if it, like, maybe if it should have focused on more things. I like what he tried to do with the ending to make it not like this giant X-Men fight, but then in doing so, like, some other weird problems kind of arise where it's kind of like, what's going on? Why is that happening?
That
That's not
felt
actiony.
so unearned.
Yeah, like...
And so anticlimactic.
And somebody dies.
And honestly disrespectful to some of the characters in this movie. Like, one particular character was so disrespected in this movie, and it's just like, wait. Like, obviously, I didn't watch Unbreakable when it first came out. I definitely wasn't old enough to comprehend that movie. But, like, after all that time and how they waited, like, and whether this is true or not, and Bruce Willis's rate caused issues for this movie, where they could only film him for like 4 days. So like did something like that. Yeah, he cost too much money.
Interesting.
That he disappears for like the whole middle third of this movie, and who doesn't show up until like halfway through the movie? Samuel L. Jackson, and then he's comatose for a bunch of it.
Yeah.
Like, on purpose, at least. Not like in the prequels of Star Wars, where he just seemed like he was comatose.
There we go.
This was like, he was actually comatose. And really, the first beginning parts of this movie, I'm like, okay, I'm down for this. This is what I was, this is what I was going into this movie enjoying the fact that I was going to get some continuation from those past two films. And then I feel like the third act of this movie, up until I just watched The Turning last week, which, like, this is saying something. Glass came out last January. That was my least favorite ending of any movie in the past year. Like, it made me irrationally angry. And then The Turning made me even more irrationally angry. Don't go see that movie. But, like...
Finn, like... Would you buy Glass?
Here's the tricky thing. If it was a couple dollars, probably. Because I honestly would want to watch it again. And see if, like... Because... I've had some movies where expectations were done in a way that knocked me off too much, and after I was less angry about it, I found appreciation in it. I don't know if this is going to be one of those movies. Like, Iron Man 3 is one of those movies. I think it's the point where we could, like, talk about the twist of Iron Man 3, that the Mandarin's not real, and he's just an actor. Because when that first happened, I'm like...
Yeah, it wasn't funny, it was awkward, it was cringy.
Yeah. Now, watching it now, I think it's hilarious. Like, Ben Kingsley's hilarious. And I'm okay with it now, because that shock's gone. And...
Trevor.
And... Hello, my name is Trevor Slattery. It's like, what did you do this for? 3 words. More drugs.
Yeah.
Like, he's hilarious, and I'm like, okay, I can laugh at this now. Aldrich Killian is still a shitty villain. But that's another story. But, like, Man of Steel was another one of those movies where, like, that was so drastically different for Superman that I'm like... And now I watch Man of Steel, and there's so many things I love about Man of Steel. But, like, I don't know if Glass is going to be that. But we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, the thing about Glass is that I think it tried to be very, very different than any other superhero movie. And I think when you try to do that, when you try to go so far away from, like, a formula, you need to make sure, like, it's something that it works really, really well. Because for it to have less action and have more character stuff, but then sometimes the characters aren't all that interesting or cool or...
That... Honestly, by the end of the movie, what characters you were left with are the least interesting, underwhelming characters.
And where do you go from there? Like,
I don't know.
I don't know. That's the other issue is that the way that it ends, I don't know where... Would I be interested in watching the movie that comes after that? At the moment, I might say... I'd probably say no.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. So you might get mad. So,
What, us?
Yeah, us.
We already had this conversation when we left that movie together.
Yeah, so the reason why I say Waste of Potential is because I thought that Get Out was fantastic. I think I've seen that movie 4 times. It is. I own that movie, and I almost never buy like
T.S.
Is it what?
Mother effing A.
Yeah, like that. So quotable, like a lot of things in that movie, or at least that character anyway. But like this movie comes out, and I probably should even put it in the I Love Parts of You. That scene where NWA is playing, and it's just kind of like it's like the best use of that song like I've
Call
ever.
the Police.
Yeah, just
play F the Police by NWA.
Like I loved that scene. I loved like when you first, because the trailer hyped up the regular family meeting up with the doppelganger family when you see it in the movie. Yeah.
Oh, the tether.
Yeah, like that's excellent inside of the movie. But I think for me, the reason why I say Wasted Potential is because like it keeps ramping up and getting more interesting, and I like all the characters, and I like the music, and I like Jordan Peele's. I don't know. There's like a lot of interesting things, but then the movie, like the ideas that the movie starts to, I guess, like explain become too big for me, and I don't, and almost kind of, and when it becomes too big, it's hard for me to make certain leaps. And then when it's hard for me to make certain leaps, I kind of just sit there in the movie saying like, okay, oh yeah, sure, all right, yeah, why not? Oh, they're everywhere. Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which is interesting because I'm going to make this back connections to what we were talking about earlier. So like where I had us felt more like the Nightingale, where I bought into its expanding bigger ideas. Us probably felt more like Gangs of New York to you, where you're just like, I am no longer satisfied in the film that I thought I was getting because this film's going in a bigger direction and losing me.
Yeah, like, and I remember like when we watched this, I forget where I kind of like had this my own idea of how I wanted the movie to go, and you were like, well, you should review a movie on how it is, not how you wanted it to be. But I think a good way to test if a movie just isn't your jam is if you actually start thinking about the changes that you would make, like the tweaks or like the giant chunks of the movie that you would take out, like swap or kind of like fiddle with and then put it back in the movie. Like if you're imagining that while you're sitting in the theater, this movie's just not your jam.
Well, and I think at that point then you're probably realizing that like you're not connected to this movie anymore. Because like
I would give this movie like a B, by the way. Like this movie is not trash. It just wasn't for me. Like I would never buy it.
It's like, I remember when I sat through Parasite.
B-, but okay, yeah.
I was so hooked on what this crazy ride I was going on, I never thought twice about anything else than being completely engrossed in that movie. And you know you're lost in a movie and really connecting with it when you have an experience like that. When you do have, like, I'm trying to think of
Joker?
where I felt when I was sitting through, in terms of like you're just on along for the ride.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Well, like I was I was sucked in by Joker. I was like sitting in awe. I'm like, what is this movie? But like when I was sitting through like Star Wars: Rise of Skywalker, I was sitting there being like,
Why'd you do that?
why is that there? Why is this a thing? Oh, why'd you have to do that? And like I was literally thinking in my head the whole entire movie about other things that wasn't the story I was going on, and that says a lot. So I could relate to the feeling that you were feeling.
Thank
because
you.
I have felt that sitting watching a movie before. And like there's some movies that are just so bad that I'm just like sitting there thinking like this is just bad. I'm not even thinking about how this could be better. This is just bad. And I feel like it's that kind of movie which it's that wasted potential idea of where, or I love parts of you where you're sitting there, it's like when it's not really working because certain things work so well that you're just like, why couldn't this be making me feel the same way this scene made me feel? And then you just have the garbage movies where you're just sitting there like, why is this a thing?
Yeah.
Why is this a thing? Why am I watching this movie?
Let me see. MIB International. MIB International is a movie that I don't know if anybody asked for it. I mean, I mean, I feel like more people were asking for that Men in Black, 21 Jump Street crossover, and I wasn't asking for that.
B-23? Yeah.
Yeah.
After watching Men in Black International, I'm retconning my feelings and being like, please give us the Jump Street version. Because watching Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill's characters becoming Men in Black would have been so much more entertaining than what we got.
This movie, it has such an amazing, like, it has such an amazing base, right? Like, you have aliens, and you have action. You have funny characters, and then you also have the potential to get serious in moments, but never linger on that seriousness because it's always, like, on to, like, the next thing. But not in a stupid, we don't know how to handle emotions kind of way. But it doesn't, like, like, the original is an amazing movie. But, this movie, what I didn't like is the fact, even though I like both leads, like, both of their, like, careers, like, and they're pretty young, like, both their careers are, like, thumbs up. But, the reason why I didn't like this movie is because not all the jokes land. Some of the aliens weren't very interesting. Like, in the first movie, like, some of the aliens aren't really, like, there are not too many giant major character aliens, so you're kind of like hanging with the humans, but in the international movie, like, some of the main characters are the aliens, so they better be as interesting as your two leads. And if they're not, then you kind of like suck, like, they kind of suck screen time, and it's kind of like you eye roll, you know what I mean? But there are, like, some cool things, like when they actually go inside of, like, London headquarters, and it's kind of like, so I like that. I liked
Liam Neeson.
Exactly, like, or that other, like, sniveling antagonist. I forget his name.
Oh, what's that actor's name?
Yeah, like, dude with the glasses.
Yeah. He was in Just Mercy, too. I want to punch him in the face in Just Mercy.
Oh, he has a type. Okay.
Yep. He plays that character that you want to jump through the screen and punch him in the face.
Yeah.
Honestly, my favorite part of this, and this is going to sound really weird, was Kumail Nanjiani's character,
Okay.
Pawnee. Whenever you get, like, a cute little animated character or something like that, they never actually do anything, and he actually did something. And I thought he was pretty funny. But, like, my biggest issue with this was this trying to be the same kind of Men in Black as the Barry Sonnenfeld Men in Black? Or was this going to be an F. Gary Gray Men in Black movie? And I felt like it fell somewhere in between and never really embraced either of them.
Then that's an issue.
And I feel like I would have rather had a fresh, fully F. Gary Gray, the guy who made, like, Straight Outta Compton kind of Men in Black movie, than what we got. Because it's like had this Barry Sonnenfeld era Men in Black movie music in it that didn't fit the tone. And, like, that didn't meld well, and it just felt hollow. In the end, it just felt like this was made for a bunch of money. Enjoy this bland action movie.
I also don't like some of the CGI. Some of that stuff I don't really like the ending creature thing. I didn't like the design, and I didn't like the way that it looked. It looked very. It almost looked like worse than the cockroach alien from the first movie, and that was 20 years ago, probably more. Actually, yeah, definitely more.
It was more.
Yeah.
Like 25 years ago, probably at this point, but
yeah.
like.
Wow, we're old. We're very young. But yeah, I don't know. This movie just wasn't for me, and I don't even know if it was for a lot of people because I don't even think that it made like a tremendous amount of money.
Yeah, I don't think they're making another one.
Yeah, it seemed like it was kind of like in the theaters and like out. So I don't know. The last one is Gemini Man, which I don't think.
Gemini Man?
Yeah, like I don't think this. Did this make any money either?
No.
Okay, yeah. So
this bomb bad.
Yeah, so Will Smith is back at it again. And Ang Lee, right, directed this?
Yeah.
Yeah, so like there's like a lot of interesting people. Winstead, like Mary
Elizabeth Winstead.
Yeah, there we go. What is the pilot's name?
Yeah, who plays Wong in
Doctor Strange?
It's Benedict Wong.
Benedict Wong, yeah. So there's like a lot of interesting people.
Clive Owen's in this?
Oh yeah, Clive Owen, yeah. Who I really like. Everybody likes Clive Owen.
I love you, Junior.
Yeah.
So bad. He was so bad in this.
Yeah.
Like,
this movie, so I'm taking something from IGN. So like, I love to like, give citations when I hear something really cool. So apparently there were earlier, because this production has been sort of like it's like development hell for like a decade at minimum. And there are earlier versions of this movie that take this idea of kind of like cloning and kind of like cloning being used, like real people being used as weapons, and it having like really interesting like social commentary.
Yeah, it might have tried to do that, but sure didn't succeed.
Yeah, but it didn't do that because I think it was more interested in wowing you with its effects, and then also with the fact that like there's explosions.
Oh, and the CGI Will Smith looks absolutely horrendous in light.
Yeah. It was interesting because I saw like an interview when he said something about well, yeah, like in the future, like if I don't feel like doing a movie, like they can just like bring out the CGI me, and then it's like they gotta take my voice, and then I can just sit back and get fat, and then he can like look amazing forever. And I'm like, ooh, I don't know, Will. You might want to show up. Keep doing those crunches, Will.
Like, they're bringing James Dean back for a movie,
and
I don't like the idea of that. They're dead. Let them rest in peace. Like, they did that with Elvis and Blade Runner 2049, but, like, it was a hologram anyway. Like, don't bring back dead actors. Or, like, do your own acting. Like, I don't like that idea. And this movie, there might have been some potential good things, but it was a misfire. It really felt like a misfire to me.
Yeah, it wasn't as deep as it could have been. It was even the movie that we got where it's kind of like maybe it might not be having like social commentary in terms of like war or whatever, or like being used, but it could have have a conversation with the audience about, I guess, cloning ethics and things like that. But even I don't know if the movie even wanted to have that conversation. Like I don't know if it had time to, or have that conversation like amongst its characters, or have like the antagonist be so fleshed out motivation wise, or make you think about like the implications of if this was real, like would this be a good thing or a bad thing or a gray thing? This movie's more so curious about, yeah, I don't really care. Let's watch somebody get smacked in the face with a motorcycle, which was kind of cool. Not gonna lie, I've never seen that. 2019 was so awesome with giving me like action stuff I'd never seen before. like John Wick, like somebody getting kicked in the face with a horse.
Yeah.
What? But like, yeah, this movie, it might not be. It might not be for. It just wasn't for me. So the last bit, I'm just gonna rattle off a couple of titles. I'll say, please check out Uncut Gems. That was a fantastic film. I think wasn't that the movie I said the award for Give You an Ulcer.
Yes.
Yeah, that should go to that one. Brightburn. Not a lot of people. I don't think a lot of people like have loved this movie as much as I did. The ending. You didn't like this movie?
I'm not saying I didn't like it. I definitely didn't like it as much.
Got you. Yeah, I mean, if you like comics, you should watch it. If you like horror and you're okay with blood, you should watch it. If you're
there were some cool sequences in terms of that.
Yeah. Let me see. What else? I want to say Crawl. Crawl was an awesome movie.
I loved that movie, and I did not expect to love that movie.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of the biggest surprises of 2019, where it's like, damn, they made a really great creature feature.
Yeah.
And I cared. I cared about that daughter and father.
The whole thing. Like, the setup was awesome, and then, like, the hurricane aspect was awesome, because it's not just about, the crocodiles, but it's definitely, like, heavily about the crocodiles and the danger of that. Thumbs up. And then the last one, I know you said you didn't really, like it as much, but Six Underground on Netflix with, just, like... Imagine Michael Bay just completely this like unrestrained. He's like, I'm just gonna do whatever and
Bad
how
Boys
much.
too.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I'm just gonna do as much as possible. Yeah, with cars. Yeah, just like as much as what I'm known for. I'm just gonna do it all. Every bit of it. I love it. I love the trailer. I love all the actors. I love the movie. I thought it was fantastic.
Here's that movie in a nutshell.
Here we go.
Ryan Reynolds did a featurette on it, talking about it, being interviewed about it while they were shooting scenes, and like they have him standing with them actually filming some of the chase scenes in the background.
Mm-hmm.
So in the actual movie, you can see Ryan Reynolds in the background while he's supposed to be in the car.
Okay, so I didn't know that, and I wish I could unhear that.
You're welcome. Thanks, Michael Bay.
But I've also seen that movie 3 times.
You should go watch Bad Boys for Life instead.
Also a good movie, and Michael Bay is in there. It's not.
Yeah,
it's not that subtle.
He was
but
actually in that movie. Yeah. I'm like, oh my god, it's Michael Bay.
It's not that subtle, but it's like if you know what he looks like,
he can be in the movie. Just don't have him direct it.
Exactly. But yeah, again. Thank you for having me, dude.
Awesome. This was our first Welcome to the Wasteland episode, so tune in next month when we get a chance to talk about some other stuff.